Zoning bills in order. Very good, so we're very much.
Well, thanks for all the blessings you've given us, especially during this time, during the Memorial Day weekend, as we reflect back on all the freedoms that you provided and the people who made the great sacrifices for our country. We ask that you continue to prosper our county as we look forward to you to lead and guide us in all that we do. Be with us in this meeting tonight, Father, that we make the decisions that are best for the county. And also, we thank you so much for the beautiful weather today and with the rain and everything. It sure does feel like it's a good springtime in East Tennessee. But most of all, we thank you for your Son, Jesus, and all he did for us. In his name, amen.
Amen. Here will you listen, please. Attention, salute, pledge.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, after you got your packets and a chance to review the events and any corrections to those. Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Second. All those in favor, approve the minutes, let me know, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Brian, you might want to introduce Kevin.
Yes, we have a new player we're working with. Jordan, to my knowledge, he wound up having to drop a county, and this is Miss Catherine Baldwin is going to be working along with us now. And if y'all would, we'll welcome her and stuff.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for being willing to work with us. Moving on down the agenda, we'll go to citizens' input, and to have Mr. Fox here tonight for the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I'll give you a second. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, state your name and address.
My name's Jim Fox. I'm at 1905 Abilene Trail in Dandridge. My friend and neighbor, Robert Thornton, has come to you guys for a variance so he can build a roof over his porch, and plans include building a covered walkway over to his parking area where he plans to put a metal carport as well. And he needs a variance from this committee on the 30-foot setback as defined by the county codes. But this project not only would be beyond the 30-foot setback, it would be beyond the property lines and out into the county right-of-way as well. If you look at the photo on the right, his lot marked 24 is his property with his house outlined on it. And it clearly shows that a large portion of his house is already out on the county property. He was tasked with providing a current survey of his property which would verify these statements. By allowing this variance, I believe it would open up more issues as other property owners would want to do the same and attempt to build on county-owned property. If allowed, would the county own what he has built on county property? Who would maintain it? Who would be liable if anything should happen, since it would be on county property? In reference to the metal carport, where a permit is not required, but there are restrictions, and which says it should be behind or attached to a home within the setbacks. Again, this would be 100% on county property. I'm asking this commission to make a determination on this, and I ask you to deny his applications because it will be on county property. And the other photos are general views of his property in reference to the street itself already.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fox. Next, on citizens' input, Board of Zoning Appeals, Ms. Beth Nelson.
Beth Nelson, Strawberry Plains. You have tonight on the agenda determination of a small trucking company is an allowed use in A1. What similar uses is associated with an A1 would be my question. When items come before you, according to the planner, you are to decide if this use is similar to an existing use in A1. I don't see any use in our agricultural zoning for a trucking company. Conversely, I do see one in our industrial zoning. Truck terminals are a permitted use. The countywide survey team has reported back here to you the results of our survey. Within those results, it was evident the desire to continue to protect our agricultural lands. How does allowing trucking companies in A1 zoning support the survey results? I see absolutely nothing that says that would be an allowable use. And how does the determination of a small trucking company compare to a large trucking company? I'm asking you to look at this and deny that to be an allowable use in A1. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Do we have a Mike Asbury?
Mike Asbury, 1122 West Dumpling Valley Road, Dandridge. We're going to talk about the small trucking company that you're wanting to put into A1. I was wondering, kind of curious as to why we're bringing that up now. Is there somebody that's wanting to put something in and try to get around going through the rezoning process? Why not add it to what some of the others you already have, the C1, C2, or the upcoming maybe C3 or I? But let's keep the rezoning process so we can control these things. And also, if it says small, how big is small? I've looked on the internet, and small trucking's definitions are between 1 and 10 in some places and 1 and 15 in others. If you let a small trucking company come in and they do well and they want to double size, what do you do then? Do you change zoning, or you let a big trucking go into A1? And is there any restrictions on what their activities? Are they going to be dump trucks? Are they going to be freight trucks? Are they going to just be a yard where they swap trailers? Are they going to be parking overnight? They're going to have light up the, if they're going to be working all night, well, they put in lights that light up the area. So you need to be thinking about those sort of things. And the county has paid for a survey that says we want to keep our rural feel. And it's your all's job to help keep that rural feel, so I don't understand why we're trying to work and add all these things into our A1 zoning when we really should be focusing on getting our zoning as a whole revamped and making some restrictions on what you can do on your property as far as, lighting, light trespass, noise, and what kind of traffic you can create, some stuff like that. So anyway, I'm asking you to not put in a trucking company or allow trucking in A1, and let's get started on our zoning based on our survey.
Thank you, Mr. Asbury. Okay, that completes the citizens' input for the Board of Zoning Appeals. We'll move on down to the next item, number 6 on the agenda, determination if a small trucking company is allowed use in the A1 agricultural zone.
Virginia is here, I think. Yeah, won't step to the podium. This come from White Pine Regional Planning. We're trying to rezone it to commercial. But the planner, Joe Barrett in White Pine, the night of the meeting, the mayor made a motion to rezone it, but he couldn't get a second. And so Joe thought it's such a small scale, and you've been doing it, what, 3 years?
4 years.
4 years. They've got 3 dump trucks, or 4? 3? 4. And they're only parked there overnight. I never caught them for sure. I've been by there a few times over the last 3 or 4 years. I had one complaint, and it come to find out it was somebody that paid all rock for it, got mad at them. But anyway, that's beside the point. We took steps to rezone it to White Pine because it's in the regional. It's a half mile outside the city limits there. And Joe thought it was such a small scale that wondered if it would be allowed use in A1 for you all. It's only an acre tract. So he wanted to send it to the board. Now, it will come to July County Commission with a no vote because they couldn't get a second vote on it. So there's where we stand. And so she's here tonight to see what you all think. She didn't ask for this. The White Pine planner did. So actually did the first 2 the same night. But and I know Catherine don't know anything, her first night about it and everything, but another small business, you know.
The only thing I think that we have looked at is that if you remember on Highway 92, we had people who come in here and ask us to rezone their property for commercial. And part of it was the guy that had equipment and that he wanted to park it there, and we told him he needed to be commercial.
Yes.
And then when he found out he couldn't build a house on it being commercial, then he changed his mind. But the thing was, is that our recommendation is that because that's what it was, that it needed to be commercial at that time, even though it never made it for the vote. That was our recommendation for that rezoning.
That's what we started out doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that wasn't very big either, but I think we set a precedent at that point in time saying that this type of business should have a commercial zone.
Well, I'm just doing, you know, what Joe wanted to.
I understand.
run in front of him. She didn't have anything to do with it. If they don't get it rezoned, they're gonna have to find another place to go, and finding commercial property nowadays is kind of tough.
We've been
She's
there over
been
20
looking
years.
Since we started, but they can't find anything.
Okay.
We're just trying to make a living for our girls too.
I'm not, you know, and I think we even out on Mount Horeb Road at one point in time there again, we had the same type of incident right there, and where they had the trucks, and we said that he had to go commercial. So I know there's at least twice that we have, since I've been here, when that instance has come up, that we have made the recommendation that it need to be rezoned. And, you know, and some of them we may have sent that recommendation on, but to the county commission, and I don't, you know, it may or may not, but I know the one, that was the thing he's asking for and, you know, and he just had a few dump trucks as well. But that was
a lot more than these people did.
Well,
Both of them did.
that's,
But anyway, that,
okay.
and she's going through those steps to rezone.
Right,
Whether the
okay.
county commission does or not in July, we don't know yet, but that's
Okay.
what we're doing.
Was there a recommendation from White Pine Regional?
Well, the mayor voted to approve it, but he couldn't get a second.
Okay, all right.
So,
Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to add, ma'am?
No, we pretty much summed that up.
Anybody got any questions
And
for
we
her?
do not, you know, have people coming in and out of there. You know, they go to work, come back home, and then 2 of them, they do take the trucks home with them now. Then another one is about to, once he gets his stuff.
Which, and I told her, her other drivers drove the truck home. You know, we made a ruling years ago, she could drive her truck home. But at the time, they couldn't do that, but they are now. I don't know.
Yeah, so we'll
Okay.
just have 1, 2, sometimes maybe 3 there.
Okay.
I've never seen the truck there when I've been up there. I mean, they've always been out working
Right.
during the day.
So at the most, you think it'd be 3 occasionally, but more than likely 1 or 2?
Yeah,
No.
at most times, yeah.
Well, I guess the thing is if we make this determination, it's not her partial, it's all partials that we would be making.
Absolutely.
So that's, it's nothing against your business. We want you to be successful. But then we gotta look for it, because once we make this decision, then I think we'll open other things. And I know in the past that we've already, two that we've had that we have said that they need to be rezoned commercial.
Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to add or ask? Not to put you on the spot.
Not to put me on the spot, and this isn't the first time I've done this, so. I think one of the things that you said earlier was that because this is a conditional use, if they approve it at the BZA level, you consider it an allowable use.
It would be, yeah.
It would be. And you don't define trucking or size or performance criteria. So to approve this, it would be very questionable at what point someone comes in and says more than 3 trucks, and you lose the ability to say no if you don't have some sort of limitation of performance criteria. So I think if you're going to do it, it should be the rezoning and or amend your A1 district to make it an allowable use, but establish the criteria for development of that use, like buffering, lights. I think that the folks who brought up the concerns about noise, diesel trucks, I've had some experience with diesels in residential areas, and that can be a real nuisance. So by not having a definition for it or any kind of criteria to evaluate not her site, but any site,
Right.
without a definition, and those establishing those parameters, that would be my concern.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, it's not
Yeah.
that you couldn't do that.
Right.
And or the county commission can rezone it with a
Absolutely.
recommendation from this body. And the other alternative is to amend the zoning ordinance to allow it, but establish it as a use with criteria for consideration of adjacent properties.
Yeah, that's, and one of the things I was thinking about, mentioning on the diesel trucks, agricultural in general, diesel is involved pretty heavily in that with your tractors and your trucks. I mean, it's already there in A1 as far as that, but I agree with everything else entirely on that. So everybody knows what we're looking at. She's not asking for rezoning, which it's up to see if we're gonna allow small trucking as an allowable use in A1. That's what we have before us tonight.
That's all trucking, you have to define that.
Yes, ma'am. So, we have any other questions or comments? Being none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to deny this determination of small trucking company in the A1 zone as our guidelines are stated right now. I think based on our past criteria for where these need to be, that it needs to be zone commercial.
Okay,
But I am not against coming back and taking a look at this if we decide that we would like to add it with conditions. But as of right now, the way we have now, my motion is to deny.
okay. We have a proper motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a second. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor of denying small trucking in A1 as an allowable use, let it be known by saying aye. Motion passes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
And
you.
if you want to come back to us with something else, additions, or looking at that, by all means, get in touch with them.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, item number 7, determination if a HVAC school is and allowed use in the A1 agricultural forestry zone.
My name is Dominic Guarino, and I live at 2622 Lakeside in White Pine. Here with me is Chad.
Chad Long.
Yeah, I don't have to But this is another one that White Pine Regional sent to you, same night. He was trying to rezone some property beside our new nursing home up there in White Pine. It's just right outside the city. The city evidently, in the city, had turned down some commercial, I don't remember how long ago.
A couple of years.
And they didn't want to rezone it to commercial. And again, Joe thought, you know, to come in front of the BZA to see if it was allowed use in A1. And I told Dom, you know, I don't know. So that's why we put it in here. And I can explain how big it is and
Sure.
what he wants to do.
Yeah. I got some pictures here of our existing training center, which is in Hamlin County in Morristown. And we just moved into that about a year ago. And one of the reasons is I'd like to actually move out of Hamlin County and into Jeff County with the business. We are a national HVAC training organization, and we have facilities in California and have another facility in Ohio, which I'm shutting down because we moved, our main office down here. So this is roughly about a 5,000 square foot training facility, classrooms, that kind of thing. And with that, we also have a video studio because we do a lot of online training, so everything's remote. We only have a few employees actually that would be in this building. We don't do any commerce. We don't do any walk-in commerce in terms of purchasing anything. It's all done. Students sign up online. They come here from around Tennessee, wherever, North Carolina, et cetera. So that's basically the nature of the business. We train heating air conditioning contractors at all levels, from residential to commercial, industrial. It's a clean business. There's no chemicals, there's no or anything like that being used, just some air conditioning equipment. And we hope that we can move the business to White Pine.
Of course, this will be a determination, not just for the property in White Pine, it'll be for all A1 in the county.
Right.
So,
Terry, what was you thinking?
well, I was just asking here is because basically it's in here, it's asking that it's a school. Now, schools are allowed in an A1 zone.
They are, but
But
schools.
well, I know, but I'm just saying, it's a trade school from that standpoint. So if you were to have a high school, you could have trades at that high school, could you not? As far as but here, I guess the thing is it's sort of a private school type thing, I would suppose. I don't know if we distinguish between schools, whether they're public or private, per se, but I don't know if we're going to consider it a school or a training facility or whatever. I mean, but it does. That's when I look at it. That's the only thing that I can find that because schools are allowed. If it's actually a school, then it's a school. I guess.
You said it was all online. There's no actually.
sorry?
It's all. Pardon me. Everything was online. There's nothing actually taking place there. Any on-site training, correct?
No, there's training.
There is training.
Demonstration.
Both
Okay.
online and in
Both
person.
online and there. Okay,
Yeah.
forgive me.
Like we have a classroom in those pictures.
Yeah.
About 20, 25 people in a class. And it lasts a few days.
You may.
How long is the training period?
Between 2 and 3 days typically at a time. Yeah.
And how frequent?
I'm sorry, I can't.
How frequent? How often?
I would say 2 to 3 times a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that says it has to be a public or a private in what we already have allowed on A1.
Well, I mean, I think it just says schools,
Yeah.
It says public use.
public use, oh, public use for schools, okay.
This is the final line. That's right.
It's public.
This is the final line between public and private. He's taking money.
The classes are public, they're open to the public, so you don't have to enroll like for a year or anything like that.
Okay. Does anyone have any further questions? Being none, what's the pleasure of the board on determining if an HVAC school is allowed use in the A1 zone?
Mr. Chairman, I feel comfortable with it. Even though it says HVAC, it could be other types of trade schools as far as that goes. I would make the motion that I would think that that would be an allowed use.
Okay. We have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of allowing a HVAC school in A1, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda, item number 8, front setback variance for a covered porch on an existing mobile home located at 1910 Abilene Trail in Dandridge, Ponderosa Ranch, Lot 73. Robert Thornton. Mr. Thornton here.
We've got other pictures that I'm sure you've got the same ones there with the box handed out. We can give variances all up and down that road. I don't know how you can build just about anything down that road without a variance, to be honest with you. I think we give Mr. Fox one. I don't know where he's at. I believe, didn't we give you a variance? Yeah. So there's been variances all up and down the road.
Yeah.
It's a dead end street down through there. And you can tell him what you're asking for. It's just to put a roof on the front.
Porch, and then I've got a metal carport going on that big slab of concrete where the truck is and
Okay.
We don't know how much variance we need,
Well,
because we sure can't give him a variance for the property. If the county owns the easement right away, we can't grant him a variance for that.
there's some more pictures you might have to.
yeah, I talked to Mr. Garrett last Thursday, and
Yeah, you can't go off of this because it's all
But that's,
You know, talking to him and seeing him is two different things.
So you don't have a copy of the survey of
It's
your property?
ditched to ditch on that road, as far as the county. That one right there, I think is one,
I thought all those property lines ran the center road over there.
wow, that road there is just a dead end down through. I mean, it's just a ditch, there's no right of way on it.
yeah, there's,
It's the way,
Is it publicly maintained?
yeah, I mean, I guess you could call it that. I think
Yeah, if you
Charles
wanna call
got
it
that for a long time. I don't believe he's paid that in a while.
no.
I think just about everybody down through Hurst, either got a variance or it was before zoning.
Yeah, which I think my first house, yeah, because I came here for the septic and whatever was in the building. And he said, this is where you need to put it. If not, I'd had a 50-foot drop.
Yeah,
I'm already at
that's the
20.
way a lot of it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And going back with the porch, I'm just doing with the original house that was destroyed in the house fire. I'm just going back. In fact, it's even smaller.
So it'll be back.
Post there is what he wants to put a roof on.
Well, yeah, I'm going to cut those down. I got beams to go up.
And that would be in the original footprint, that would be in the footprint of the original home that was there?
Yes,
before the
sir.
fire?
Yes.
Sir, that's, you had your opportunity to speak, and we will give him his.
Connect to this. Put a little roof over there. From here to here. Well, I understand.
I wish you know how much the variance was.
Well, you can see those posts on that one picture I made. That's pretty darn close to the road. Yeah, I understand that. You see the post in that one? The front of his house there?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'd say right now he's about 14, 15 feet off the edge of the pavement.
Something looks like.
And then what he wants to do is if this exists, he just want to put a covered porch over it, right?
Right. Utilities are all on the other side of the road too, from where he's at, from what I gather from the pictures, power lines and stuff.
Well, I can bring the overhang off the front toward the road back a foot.
If you need to, I mean, he's called Eddie to get a survey of it.
Yeah.
I guess you've not got back to it?
No. Out on Abilene Trail. I talked to you Thursday. You said.
I'm trying to make this money. But he can get a survey if you want to come, I don't know.
I'm just waiting. I
Yeah,
mean, because I even called the office Thursday and said, I didn't have it. Do I need to come tonight? And they said, yeah.
Well, we already had you on there.
Right.
If they want to put it off, you can.
That's
you
what
can get a survey.
I feel comfortable with that, and that way then we know exactly what we're giving him.
Okay.
Based on where
You
the,
just need to get with Eddie.
Right.
based on where the road right of way is, and then in relation then to what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, you need a motion of that, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, we'll do it with motion, that way it's proper.
I guess I'll make a motion that we just postpone this until next month, until a survey is provided showing the exact location and the amount of variance that would be required.
Okay. We have proper motion, we have a second? Have a second, any further discussion? All those in favor of postponing this till we have a survey in place, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Okay, next item, front setback variance for a garage to be constructed in front of the mobile home at 1427 Parrots Chapel Road, Sevierville by John Johnson. Mr. Johnson? Oh,
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Here's some pictures, I'll let Catherine pass them there. He literally ain't got the west to put a garage. As you can see, his mobile home's down almost in the water. And then that's the only place he's got to build it.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And we built it up real big.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So you can
Yeah,
see
that's what I
water
was gonna say.
will hit the trailer before it would hit the,
Right, it would.
yes.
So this one here is, you're not asking for a setback variance, you're
No,
just asking for the
he's
garage
asking
to
for
be
the
front, in front,
Front.
okay, all right, so.
Yeah, and the way I see it is, we look at it, it's funny, when you live on the lake, you look like that's your front of your home. And people look at it from the street as your front of your home.
Right.
But to me, it would look odd, my garage sitting out on the lake and my house behind it. So that's why, and I couldn't put it anywhere else anyhow. But I can't. And it's off to the side. I mean, it's way far from the home.
We have any questions for him? Okay. What's the pleasure of the board on giving a setback variance for garage to be constructed?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to grant the variance for the garage to be constructed in front of the mobile home due to topographical issues, and this being an existing overlot that was developed before that we had any zoning or more stricter subdivision guidelines.
Okay. We have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
Second, I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.
Should we come to you to get that?
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good evening. My first time here, a little nervous.
All right, you done well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 10, front setback variance, pardon me, Kevin. Front setback variance of 10 feet for a garage to be constructed at 1812 Range Road, Dandridge by Tina and Kenny Thorpe. Stacy Lane. Hello?
This is another one that's, a couple of pictures we made out there. There's no house on this lot yet, right?
There was a house, and
There was?
we're trying to put it back, we're trying to put a garage right back where the farmhouse was. There was a 1920 model farmhouse that was rotten, and we thought we were gonna redo it, but we couldn't, so we're trying to put a metal garage right there in exact location.
Not exactly, but
Here's
I
the
have,
survey.
okay.
So they need to be 20 feet from the property instead of 30, right?
That's what Stacy said. He's been out and measured. Stacy Lane.
Yeah, Stacy. Stacy's the one doing all the measurement. He's asking for 10-foot variance on the front of that garage. Yeah.
So this is supposed to go back where the older house was, it's shown on this map, survey? Okay. So actually what happens is that your property even goes on the other opposite side of even the road that's there, per se.
Yeah,
That's probably where the old house sat there when it was developed, and that's where it ended up at. Okay. So my question is when I look at here, is there a topography issue?
well, it's up on that hill, on a rise. I don't know where you're gonna build the house.
So Stacy's gonna level it out so we can put the building right where the house was exactly.
So he's gonna level that hill out?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So you need the variance for what reason then?
Well,
So the edge of the road up to where the corner of the building will be is where Stacy said, because there's usually a 30-foot right-of-way from the edge of the road, it needs to be 20 for that building to fit back where that house was.
yeah, and I wish Stacy was here to explain it more to you.
So right now it's 20 and they need,
No, it's, you're supposed to be 30,
right.
and he needs.
But right now the way it sits now is 20 feet.
Yeah.
Okay,
If-
is the way it sits now. All right, so that's why they need the 10-foot variance, yeah. Not 20 foot, 10 foot.
No, 10. 10
Yeah.
is all we're asking, if you will. It's what's on the
Yeah.
agenda. Just a 10-foot variance.
Do we have any further questions? Being none, what's the pleasure of the board about allowing a setback variance of 10 feet for the construction of the garage?
Mr. Chairman, I'm just curious, I mean, is there, because this variance to me would be granted for topography. And I'm just curious, as when I see those pictures, is there a topographical issue that I have here? That's what I don't understand, I guess. I mean, I'm looking at the pictures, and that doesn't look like to me that's a topographical issue unless this is misleading me.
Evidently, he's
The
bringing
slope.
it down.
It's about a 10-foot height slope that he has to bring down to level.
To get it level with the other property owners. I mean, I can't explain it, Stacy can explain it better.
Yes, I don't see, I don't understand it when I'm looking at it now. So I'm looking at those pictures, and I'm looking. Can you show me in this picture, these pictures here, where what we're looking at in relation to this map?
It's not on this picture. It's
There's another one behind it.
Hope we took the right picture.
It's this one right here. So
Yeah.
the house was right here. This is Range Road.
Right, okay.
And the top part, can I see that just a minute? So this is right here was the house. Right here's this fence, right here. If you're looking down this way, and it goes off, and he's got to level that about 10 feet where the house right there.
So it slopes off back this way and behind, correct?
Yes, and the septic lines are
Okay.
right there.
All right, okay.
And
All right.
the septic's right here, and the septic lines are right there, and
Okay.
he can't move.
I got you, okay. I understand now, okay. The septic lines, yeah, that's the limiting factor then. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we grant the 10-foot variance for the garage be constructed here due to the topography and the fact that it's limited in moving it back due to the existing septic tank and field area.
Okay. Have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, having a second, is there any further discussion? All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.
Thank you
ma'am.
all very much.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to adjourn, being no other items on the agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a second? So, all those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Moving on, we'll call to order the meeting of the Planning Commission. And again, receiving your packets, I trust you had the opportunity to look at those. And if there are any corrections or modifications to those, being none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a proper motion, second. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Citizens input for Planning Commission agenda, Mr. James F. Fox. Yes, sir. If you would, state your name and address, sir.
Jim Fox, Adelaide Trail in Dandridge. I've had some discussions recently with my commissioner and even the county clerk about the discussion centered around short-term rentals. First off, let me start by saying I'm not anti-short-term rental. I use it from time to time myself. I have a brother-in-law that has 3 in Knoxville. They do serve a purpose, they do serve a need, and they do serve a purpose. Okay? What I am concerned about is, however, is the commission needs to address. A simple Google search of Airbnb says there's over 1,000 sites in this county, Airbnb sites, not counting the others. So it could easily be 1,500 Airbnb sites. I believe this would easily make this the largest business in this county. I believe first, they should be subject to the same standards as a hotel motel, because that's essentially what they're doing. They're renting rooms out to guests. And by those standards, I mean business licenses. I've reached out to the county mayor. He says they should have a business license. Fire marshal inspections, probably electrical inspections, even routine building inspections, meaning decks and whatnot, because inevitably there's going to be a party on a deck with 50-plus people on them, and how much weight can that hold? And short-term rentals companies, as a rule, want to fly under the radar. They won't post the addresses on the sites. They will only tell you where the address is after you've reserved space. They won't put a sign out front so that the renters can locate the space. They end up having to rely on the neighbors to tell them where they're going. And there's no contact information, so that if there's an issue that didn't require a 911 call, but parking issues or too many folks or getting a little rowdy, there's no number to access. In fact, the site says the neighbors should get to know the owners that own the Airbnb sites. So we're becoming de facto front desks and security for these folks. And like I said, the mayor says they should have business licenses, 1,500 business licenses. This morning I sent our county clerk a list of 10 sites that I was 100% sure they were running an Airbnb, short-term rental. He could only verify one as having a license, 10%. We're talking about 1,500 sites. If run that out, that's 1,350 sites that are not operating with a proper business license. And he says that the rental companies, Airbnb, I keep using them because they're the big guy, but not just them, refuses to help him in giving him the information of the owners and the addresses and et cetera, so he can pursue getting the proper taxes that are due to this county. You know, it almost sounds like these folks are willfully not paying their taxes, and the Airbnb companies are conspiring to help them not pay their taxes. So it's almost like they're obstructing county business. And didn't we just finish having some tenacious budget meetings? What would 1,350 new businesses help do to that? And if they are in a business, I don't think they should be in A1 and R1. Also, I don't have any ideas, but some sort of saturation limits placed on them as to how many they could be within a certain area or whatnot, and not in neighborhoods. Right now, currently, 20% of my neighborhood is Airbnb. 20%, 1 in 5. They end up having to direct people, trying to get them to quiet down, this and that and other. Again, I'm not the de facto security guard or shouldn't be the front desk guard for these guys. They're destroying our neighborhoods because obviously 10 years ago, I knew of one in my neighborhood. Now I know of 30. And I remember one of the conversations being about, in the budget meetings, about to drop in high school students and school students, et cetera, and that was affecting the federal money coming in because they pay per student. If you've got 1,500 sites, homes, how many of those could be potentially, if they were residential, potentially students? I believe an enforcement officer, I know has been discussed before, could easily recoup his salary and expenses by just focusing on this one issue, and would easily create, and without creating an additional burden on the budget, and in fact would probably increase the revenue. Again, my commissioner and the county clerk asked me to bring this to UTI's attention and see if we can't get some controls. Again, I'm not anti-Airbnb, I'm just saying, we need to put this on the table and have some discussion as to what they're going to do going forward, or what they need to do. And if these Airbnb companies don't want to cooperate and letting us know who they are, who these businesses are, why not just ban them altogether? If they don't want to pay the taxes on it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fox.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Moving on down the agenda to new business. Letter A, a preliminary plat approval for 30 lots of Talbot, Kansas Road. Talbot by John Taylor and Glenn Glaffenheim? Glaffenheim.
Good evening. My name is John Daniel Taylor, 1701 Talbot, Kansas Road, and 1703 Talbot, Kansas Road. Well, I have two addresses. One of them was my mom and dad. My dad was John Taylor, who was chairman of Jefferson County Soil Conservation for years and years. My mother was Sarah Taylor, who was the librarian at Maury for almost 20 years. And my dad and his two brothers got part of this when he was in the Battle of the Bulge during World War II. They bought part of this farm, and the other part we bought when I was 7 years old, and I'm 72 now. And except for being at UT, I was there all my life. And right now, I did not want to auction this myself, so I've signed an agreement to sell it to Glenn, and he is going to do the right thing about developing this. So, it's your turn.
I'm Glaffenheim, 9762 Clingmanstone Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee. I don't know if y'all have any questions. Basically, the vision I have here is the larger tracts in the rear are a minimum of 5 acres. And there's a 180-degree view of the Smoky Mountains, and it's an exceptional piece of real estate. Out front, we just did acre-plus lots, and so really you have two different products going there. Do you all have any questions or had the opportunity to review everything?
Good to see there's a 5 acre tract coming for them. You're not cutting it, in my opinion, to all you can get. We hadn't seen one like this in my opinion.
I don't think there is one out there, at least in my research, so hopefully we're not making a mistake. It's beautiful.
For years and years, I had kids that would come and they'd have, believe it or not, I had 73 girls that spent the night in my house one night because we had 5 Girl Scout troops that camped at the pond, kept the big thunderstorm camp. My wife says, go get all that stuff out of all those tents. And I said, it's lightning. She said, go get all that stuff out of all those tents. So we had 73 girls that spent the night at my house, along with about 7 months. And then one starts crying about 12. And I called her mama and I said, you need to come get her. She hung up. I called her back and I said, we must have a bad connection. She come get Luann. She's now an Air Force officer. You can believe that. So that's the rest of the story. That's all I can say.
So we have utility water?
Yes.
It's available? So we'll have new water line up the road too?
Yeah,
as well?
we'll do underground power there
Okay.
and utility water.
No water?
Yeah, you got water, I don't know if they showed the bringing it. They're gonna bring it. Yeah, they're gonna run it there, but.
Oh, they're gonna run up the road, so it's not up that road at all?
No, it's, the water's been up the road for 15 years. But
Okay.
what he's saying is they're gonna build a new road to get to
Yeah,
the
it's running
5
up
acre
that
tract.
road.
Right, yeah, that's what I was asking
The water's
for.
gonna run to those 5 acre tracts in the back.
Okay.
There's actually two different products.
Right, I'm just looking here, because, so we have utility water up Talbot's Cannon Road, and then we're gonna have a new line that goes up to the new road that goes up
Right.
there. You know what size line we got?
I have no idea, we're working on
It's at least 6 inches.
A 6-inch line there?
The one going down top of Kansas Road is.
Okay,
I think I'm right.
okay. So we'll probably have a 6-inch coming up through there, so, we'll definitely need to see some fire hydrants, if we've got the pressure.
Well, the fire hydrant approximately a third of a mile away where they're gonna put in that new, pressurized natural gas plant.
Okay,
And then there's a fire hydrant at the corner of Talbot, Kansas Road and Highway 66. That's the only 2 that are there now.
okay. You'll probably have to add some new ones in there, as far as it goes. But Glenn, you're the one doing the development, right?
That's
Okay,
correct.
So, yeah.
it. Let's do a 500-foot road. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we place 1,000 foot apart.
So,
Yeah, and then it's changing. If there's pressure. Yeah, we just get a letter from Tilby.
So as far as drainage, it looks like everything just drains toward the road, is that right? On the front lots?
Yeah, yes, back away to the back of the lots.
Yeah, the 5-acre tracts, I'm not too
Yeah.
much worried about that drainage, just mainly just the smaller lots there to, that it is.
Alpha Tablet's utility, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
We put it all together so you could see everything we're doing instead of separating the two different products. Gives you the big picture of what we plan on doing.
So it looks like about 9% is about our highest road slope, is that right?
Oh, yeah, it's all.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Good piece.
200 bushels an acre.
I like seeing corn again, but I'm getting
I
old.
would too, but I'm getting old.
Do we have any more questions about the preliminary plat?
Well, we know all the lot sizes are, meet all of our requirements, so we don't have an issue there. The only thing, part of it would be, the drainage, but if you look at the ones up here on the road, basically all that drains to the road. The ones in the back are bigger, they're probably, it's gonna handle itself, as far as it goes. They all have their proposed house site on there, which meets the requirements. The only thing would be is that, I think if for a motion to approve, it would just be contingent upon, that there be at least a 6-inch water line there and up both roads. The engineering completed on that and with fire hydrants as needed.
Are you gonna put the road in before the final?
We would like to, partly is seeing how quick TDEC can get the water line extension turned around. So hopefully it's less than a 3-month period. So our goal would be to be under construction on the road system in August, early August. And then hopefully by the end of that month, we'd be in position easily to have the underground power in and then follow with the water line. So the goal is to have product up late fall this year. So if anybody can help me at TDAC, that would be beneficial.
And I may have been wrong, it could be a 4-inch line, but whatever the size of the line is, the same size that you're gonna make the extension, is that what you're saying?
Well, basically what it boils down to, if you don't have a 6-inch line, you don't get the fire hydrants. And
It's got 2 fire hydrants now, but I think it's 6.
yeah, typically that's about, you don't see fire hydrants on 4-inch lines. Typically they're on 6. So if it's a 6, then we should be okay there. So if you've got enough, if you've got the pressure.
You got pressure.
Okay. Yeah.
On that hill where Jimmy Carmichael was where the tank is.
Okay. So they could have done this in 2 phases if they wanted to. They could have taken the ones that down here on the road and called that phase 1, and then built the road and called the rest phase 2.
After we hear back from TDEC, we may come back and say we
Okay.
want the lots approved.
Right.
So we don't want to hold up selling a portion of the property.
Okay.
So TDEC is, of course, we have to have our engineering done. And so I've got 2 other projects going with water line extensions, and they're telling me 2-3 months. So anticipate that here. So
Okay.
it may not be that quick of a turnaround. If I get bad news, I'd like to just come back and work on, I figure I could get final approval because there's no infrastructure put in on the lots.
That's true.
So,
Good, yes.
and then move ahead on the larger sales based on what TDEC says.
Okay.
Yeah, that ain't no problem.
Have any further questions?
I was gonna say, if he wants to come back with and plat the ones on the front, you can do that with and show that, and that's a final plat,
Yes.
so, he can record that separately.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that could happen, so.
Okay, right, yeah, I'm just saying. That was an option with you, with having existing road frontage, so.
Any further questions or comments? Being none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve this preliminary plat, subject to the extension of the water line and the installation of the fire hydrants.
Okay, have those 2 contingencies. Do we have a second? Second. Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor of approving the preliminary plat, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.
Well, 2. I'll give 1 to Dan.
Mr. Taylor, thank you.
very much. Now, one point of interest, my 80-something-year-old mother had the very first building permit for Jefferson County when she was in charge of the building the Old Dominion. That's when I brought that here first.
So you have a history here.
I have a history. Some good, some not good.
Don't we all?
But I thank you very much. It's good to smile a little every now and then.
George is over there.
Moving on, next item on the agenda, preliminary plat approval for Mountain View Estates, 68 lots off of Coyle Road, Jefferson City, by Darrell King.
Honorable Dale Carr, yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. We got a preliminary plat there, it's there, Eddie's done it, we've applied the T-deck for all the water lines and everything, we're gonna put a 6-inch water line through there. And we're gonna do these in phases. Phase 2, yeah.
This is, what we did, we had a preliminary approval on all of it.
Yeah.
Before, and then they developed what's along the road, but the time's run out on the rest of it. So this is just the rest of what we had approved last time.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
But the time had run out.
Yeah.
For the next, yeah.
If y'all already approved this once.
You've seen it once, yeah, the whole thing. Eddie's right on that.
Oh, the road profile's basically the
Same
same.
thing, nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed from the
No.
first time.
Except we took what we had developed off of it.
Right, okay.
It's the same as what you've done. Basically, we're just wanting an extension of the time.
Extension of time, yeah, because.
Can we have 2 years this time?
Well, slowly.
Well, we got everything approved by T-deck too, of course, we resubmitted everything because we got it approved, but then the time run out, so it's been resubmitted just when the permit gets back. That was, Matt, who? Matt somebody. Matt Hatfield, yeah.
Are you gonna record the final plat in phases?
I'll probably do it all in one lick, won't we? Maybe hopefully we can get all this at one time without doing it in another phase and getting another preliminary approval. Hopefully we can, that was the plan. I thought he was gonna go ahead
That's
and
the plan,
finish.
yeah, because we're gonna get all the T-deck, the environmental and everything done on that, so we can, get the septic and everything like that, soil science and soil work and everything on that, get them all approved and then record the plat.
I thought she's asking if we're gonna do this all at one time.
Yes.
All right?
You're gonna hold them to it, right?
No. I wanna get paid again.
Yeah, I don't want to pay him again, I didn't
No
pay him
difference
twice.
to me. We'll come again, that's fine, man.
That's his motto.
Eddie Lou wants to come back again.
We've got a computer now, we don't lose it.
He don't have you.
I can feel better. But I think we're gonna do it all this time, maybe.
Do we have any other questions for him? Everything being the same as it was? Nothing changes, just asking for the extension of time? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve this preliminary as an extension.
Okay, we have a proper motion, do we have a second? Motion is second, any more discussion? All those in favor of the time extension on the already approved plat, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Take your copies on this.
Okay.
I'll take them back to me. That way.
Thank you, sir.
Huh?
Crew's here.
Well, no, no crew is here, but now they know I'm here. This one won't one, that one won't one, that one. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank y'all, appreciate y'all.
Okay, we're to letter C, discussion of the land use plan and possible rezoning of Jefferson County, time permitting.
Well, you're gonna have to fill Catherine in on what's going on. She stepped in now where,
Does that fall under time permitting?
y'all just need to, I would run over.
That's my tower.
Yeah. I'd tell her what's going on, what are you trying to do at least anyway tonight. And give her, maybe she wanna know.
Terry, if you would, I'm gonna let you take the podium on that and explain.
Okay, a long time ago in Jefferson County, we looked at the fact that that it's not necessarily just a rezoning of the whole county, but what we're going to look at is that we were trying to look at what we have existing in the county as far as that goes in relation to our zoning it's now. Because there's things out there in this county that
that basically don't conform. In other words, we would have a piece of industrial or a piece of commercial here out in there because that's the way it ended up when we rezoned the property, and so that was its use. So we were trying to compare what we had in comparisons into what we're looking at to do in the future. I think the biggest thing is that we have in our zones, and you can see that tonight, that we have things that are in there that are sometimes vague. And there are probably some things in there that need conditions as far as that goes. And so I think that's basically what our task has been, is to look at what's there. Do we want to continue to allow that to be there? And if we do we want to put conditional uses or conditions, or do we want to take some things that are allowed in some zones, take those out and put them in a different zone? Do we want to add maybe some new zones for some things that we have addressed here since zoning has first come into play? So that's what we've been, I think that was sort of the way we planned on getting this done. And so we have maps, we have maps of zoning maps, and we also have land use maps that basically from the county that shows exactly what's in every parcel of the county, and as to that goes. It may not fit the zoning, but it does exist there. And so so many times people say, well, why can't I do this? This guy's doing it right here. Why can't I do this beside my property? Well, sometimes it was because of grandfathered use, but I really think that when this county came in 1998, it was done very hastily to a certain extent. It was done with just one thing in mind, and so now then, as growing pains have come along, not everybody's happy with what we have zoned, and so what we're trying to do is look and try to be fair, in fairness to all the individuals that are there, and try to protect their property rights. But in doing so, maybe saying, okay, we may allow this, but now then, before, where there were no conditions, there may be conditions, or there may be special exceptions to those things. And because we've made some tough decisions through the years on some of these things that have been there, just due to the fact that those guidelines weren't in place. But the thing is this, a lot of the new things that we have added as we've gone along, we have put those conditions, we have added those conditions to those, which has helped us. But we've got to, I mean, if you read through our zoning manual there, we have a lot of things there that there are no conditions on at all. In other words, you look at what we have in industrial, per se, you look at what we have in the A1 zone, and the A1 comes back. A lot of people don't like it as far as it goes, but at the time, that was what the government in this county said that they wanted. That's what they voted for. So we've done it. Now then, I think that there's probably people in the county that's saying that needs to be changed, or this needs to be changed. And I'm not saying that we zone all of them out, but I say that basically, as long as we can go through and we can put some conditions on some of these things, they may still be allowed uses, but at least they will be a little bit more receptive to what the people are looking for. So that's sort of how we've evolved to this point here, and it's taken us a long time just to get the maps. Well, I mean,
hard,
I mean, when we first started this, we had, of course, David Williams was our planner, okay? And then, so we started that process with him, and then it evolved into Jordan, and as far as it goes, and now we're where we're at now. So with you, but all I'm saying is that it's, there have been times when we would love to have addressed some things, but here's the thing. The public really now is saying, okay, when you do this, we want to see what's going on. So we tried to do something to where, from a audio-visual standpoint, that when we're looking at something, that the people in the audience get to see the same thing, okay? Because, and I'm going to give you a case in point, the gentleman who came tonight about short-term rental units, okay? We have nothing in there. But typically on short-term rental units, it's not necessarily a zoning issue. I think it's more of a county commission just coming in and saying, these are going to be your guidelines. Because I've just worked on that with a town. And so, but there are things in there that we have run across that
there are times when we'll be split on them. We're saying, yeah, they're allowed, but, you know, maybe they shouldn't be allowed. So maybe it's our fault because we didn't take the steps necessary at that time to make those changes, per se. And, you know, I don't know if that means that we were lazy or we just said, okay, this is what they wanted. But like I say, anything that seems like anything new that we have come in, that we have added to this, that we have looked at, that we have put in the proper zone that we felt it needed to go in, and also we have put conditions on those. And so I think there's just probably just a ton of items in there that are in there that need to have conditional use, and there's probably some of them that need to go somewhere else into a different type of zone. So that's sort of where we're at. And I don't know if this was the right way or the wrong way to go about it. This is the way we got started. I went and approached the county commission and asked them about this process. And so they voted to receptive for us to do it. But it's, you know, I think a lot of people had a misconception that we were going to go in and rezone every single parcel. It wasn't that. It is sort of rezoning, but it's actually taking those zones and changing them and the uses that are in them with, and then putting conditions where they need to be placed. So I don't know if that's shopkeeping or if it's whatever, but I think that's where we're at. That's.
Well, there's a lot of philosophical issues about zoning. There is no right way or wrong way to do zoning. It's customized. It should be what the leadership and the residents kind of want. As far as uses that are existing and might not match the zone district,
yes,
they're legal nonconformities,
yes,
and so they're protected under state law.
They are.
Some of those, if you know items that are like in your A1 district, once again, I'm a big zoning ordinances should be living documents. There's always stuff that changes. You know, uses morph. I remember when there wasn't a video store allowed in the commercial because those were new. Now they're extinct, and it's been, it has been, you know, what, 10, 15 years that a use that was not even thought of, and it's already gone. And there are lots of uses. I know that you've had some of the uses that are the cryptocurrency mining situation. They look for counties with that are rural in nature, a lot of electricity, and you know, and then they're coming in, you know, looking for those opportunities
and those zonings,
or the lack thereof. I always tell planning commissions that your first task is to define it. You know, and that's a big one that changes a lot. I know that you guys have had a lithium battery storage, and that's surely one, you know, you didn't have defined, so you didn't have it as an allowable use. You didn't have maybe performance criteria like distance requirements or something like that. Now, I retired from the city of Oak Ridge, so as far as complicated issues, I have pretty good experience there, and also accommodating them, but making sure that they don't become problems. Now that can be done with your BZA in some instances. And you mentioned conditions. I noticed that all your BZA actions are subjective. You're determining a use as determined by the BZA. That's a whole lot of pressure, and that's a whole lot of subjectiveness. And that always makes me nervous, because that raises your litigation risk.
Yes.
It's easy to add uses, but establish the conditions for those uses. So your job isn't subjective, your job is to determine compliance with the conditions. Let's say, we call that lithium battery, so let's just go there. If you were to allow a use of that nature, then you could have a distance from the property line, you could have buffering, you could have a determination of noise. Some of these uses are really, the cryptocurrency mining things are, they're real noisy. So you could amend your zoning ordinance by defining the uses and then establishing additional criteria, and then your job becomes determining compliance with the additional criteria, and not just, well, we think this is okay. The trucking company is a perfect thing. If you had allowed that in the A1 district, you don't have a definition. They're saying small, you don't define small. Trucking, gosh, I've got a drive past a UPS trucking facility every day almost I have another job that I go to, and it's massive. It is a massive place. You need immediate access off a major arterial or interstate. So if you were going to allow a trucking, and if you're going to break it down into small and large or anything like that, once again, you've got to define what that is. It should be in your industrial areas, and your industrial areas should be close to your arterial networks and your interstate access. So there's a real location element to zoning and to uses, land uses. If you, you can also, if you had areas that you want to encourage that type of development, so you can say, well, you shouldn't be going here, but this is the area you should go, and it has access to a state arterial, which is off an interstate, and you can, a planning commission by state law can initiate zone changes. So you can zone change something, and it very much increases the marketability. I assume you got a county ECD, economic community development, so it gives them marketability to go out and say, this property's already zoned. You can work with your local utility to make sure that they understand you're going to focus your zoning here, and you would like for them to focus their extension of utilities there. Those two things go very much hand in hand. So, I mean, good planning is complicated.
So what you're saying, I guess, because when you're saying that you're saying that we have the authority to rezone, but we've always, our process has been, is that we've always had to make a recommendation to our commission for them to vote for these rezonings.
No, you absolutely do.
Okay.
The zoning is a legislative action. It is a political action. It rests solely with your legislative body.
Okay.
Subdivision regulations on the alternative, that rests solely here.
Yes.
But if you come up with a plan to look at land use and you want to go forward and make that recommendation, you have the authority to initiate the rezoning and not just be responding to always a request.
Okay. Right. I see what you're saying. So basically, if we see that area and we feel like that area, that corridor or whatever it is, would be for that, then basically it should just come from, we could come from recommendation from us to the county commission to go ahead and just change that then, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think we've always had that power.
This Tennessee state law gives you that authority. But most,
We've never done it because we've always just allowed the individual to come in and ask,
well,
and then that's what we've made the recommendation.
It's the difference between being proactive as a planning commission as opposed to reactive.
Okay.
And that's a decision you guys have to make. Do you want to step out there and look at land use and look at, revenue stream? I'm probably one of the few planners that thinks where's your revenue coming from? How do you build revenue? There is nothing like land use management to build revenue. And use that power to build revenue. The short-term rental thing in particular, you're right, it's not a land use. But it is a freestanding, codified tool that must have your legislative body act on it, but they can ascribe that determination to your codes department and the planning commission. And that's, a lot of people have, well, short-term rental is a licensing program. You know, and the good thing about this is, you never have to go out and reinvent the wheel. There's a good example out there. You could download it and change the names, and in a month I can have you an ordinance.
That's what we did.
And short-term rental, the gentleman was right. It establishes a revenue stream. It is hotel motel tax, and you can earmark that for an inspector, a licensing program, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things I always caution counties or local governments about liability. When you check into a hotel room, there's a fire extinguisher that's been evaluated for codes. You have a legal knowledge that you're going to wake up tomorrow morning. Why don't you have that legal responsibility with short-term rental? Do they have fire insurance? Do they have home insurance? Do they have a fire extinguisher on site? Do they have designated parking? Those are all things that you can cover in a freestanding ordinance, and you generate the revenue off of it by licensing it. Even the complaints, you get, it's written into the ordinances, you get 2 calls on you, you lose your license. You also can require on that issuance of a license to have a contact that is in Jefferson County or a county that touches Jefferson County. Use your language. That's very important. So if there's a complaint, you don't need to call South Carolina and have somebody in South Carolina. I'm in South Carolina. What can I do about it? So you generate that body of knowledge. And if they get a 911 call for a fight or this or that, you call that local contact, and they get a couple of days, and there goes their license. And it's not only Airbnb, it's Verbo, it's HomeAway. I use them a lot, and I actually check to make sure that they have a licensing program, because I don't want to stay and have something happen, and I'm not talking about a party or something. I'm talking about a fire. Like these short-term rentals should be inspected for fire compliance. That it's safe. I would not want to know that there are over 1,000 in your county that you've never evaluated and something happens, and when somebody starts litigating over a lost life, they're not going to just look at Airbnb or the property owner. They're going to look at the local government. They always do. You guys are at the bottom of the hill.
Not really.
It's
more than one.
All you need, really, you look at your fire districts that you have, and you have somebody there who's an inspector, and he would be responsible for his district to go around and check those homes once they go through the permitting process, and if they pass, then they qualify to get a permit. If they don't, then they got to bring it up to state.
Come to the county commission.
Oh, the county commission, absolutely. This is it is outside your zoning ordinance. Now, of the places, a lot of rural areas are doing it, like, I'll give you an example, Oliver Springs. They've got Windrock up there. Everybody's familiar with Windrock. They have huge numbers of short-term rentals. And the gentleman was right, they're next door to you, they're next door to me. And when people come off Windrock, they're a little rowdy. It's got some issues. It's not your elderly folks that are looking at the scenery that are going to Windrock. So you got, you know, that they face a special issue there. But it's, like I said, it's I just did one for the town of Harrogate. From the standpoint, they've got LMU there. So people come in for graduation, visit their sister, you know, whatever. So they have a very stringent short-term rental policy. And, you know, once again, it's not difficult to adopt. The other thing that people are looking at a lot anymore are RV and tiny home situations. That's actually not land use either. That is that's a site plan process that you require them to go through.
They don't need codes in this county.
Yeah, the tiny homes.
They don't need codes.
And that's.
So we don't allow them.
But you have the same situation in RVs, and RVs are not, do not meet Tennessee code for permanent residency.
Right. We got them all over the place.
And you got them all over the place, people living in them. We had
For
one
years.
in Cobb County, and they were objecting to a regulatory look at them. And I asked the guy, how many kids did they drop off from the school bus? Yeah. And it was 7. And there are no taxes paid. So once again, your revenue is not matching up with your expenditures. And land use, once again, should generate that kind of information.
We tried to get another codes enforcer just to start on the campers. County Commission cut it out. It's not the year to ask for it. We're $3 million off to balance the budget, so they're cutting where they can.
But the problem
But
is
even more reason to look at revenue and where you're generating property tax and where you can generate sales tax. And you got 81 running through the middle of your county. That's an opportunity. And if you're not looking at it as a land use opportunity, you're missing that. And it could be industrial. You said that there's not a large industrial base here.
No, the mines, yeah.
You got 81 running through here. People are moving, or those types of businesses are getting forced out of the Knoxville region, and they are extending out the interstates. So one of my communities just recently, they were taking a very much proactive stance. They have newly elected officials, et cetera, and they were like, we have people come in and ask about this, and then you say, well, we can rezone that for you. How long is it? 3 or 4 months. Mm-hmm. Well, 3 or 4 months, they can go up the road 1 mile, and it's like, it's zoned, it's ready, it's got utilities, et cetera, et cetera.
Whereas if we'd been proactive and we said this area needs to be that way, then it would already been that way and ready to go. Yeah, I get that. I get that one big time for that. So,
by default, you are the body that is charged with that responsibility, and you're the only body that has that legal authority by state law.
Okay. One of the things when I discussed and I brought this up is that I looked at those corridors, which I thought would be the place that where this type of commercial type development could go as far as that goes. The problem we have is that because of the way we've grown as a county, some of those areas also have residential in with them. Okay, so typically then we have pushback from the residential people saying, we don't want commercial, but yet when we're looking at it, we're saying this is a perfect commercial corridor. So you got to do that. And so that was one of my things that I looked at is that I wanted us to make a recommendation on some of these corridors to rezone those for that. And then because, yeah, the other properties may be used as residential right now, but in my opinion, they're going to be transitional properties. Eventually, they're going to change. They're going to change over into the commercial. I would rather that to be able to do that. That way, the guy that wants to come here and do something, or the individual, whoever it may be, they don't have to fight that fight. We've already fought it for them. And you're right. We've seen that. I mean, it's happened to us several times.
And a lot of times it's performance criteria of they've got to go through a site plan process.
Yes.
Commercial site plan process. So what is your development criteria for a commercial building when it's next to a house?
Yes.
Do you require buffers? Do you require additional distances? Do you look at lighting so that it doesn't light them up when they're having to get, like dark shades or something to put on? So
because they need to coexist.
You also building materials. I mean, I worked in Hendersonville, Tennessee, for 15 years. I don't know if y'all know where Hendersonville is. It's northeast of Nashville, but they had specific building materials. So, and they looked at. I mean, and I'm not suggesting that you do that, but you can go from absolutely nothing to percentage of a color that's allowable, and every point in between, and you look at, I mean, everybody knows those towns, Farragut, Franklin. You look at the value of their property. It's not uncommon that the most valuable property has the most restrictive criteria. So it's not, they're not mutually exclusive. A lot of times that's what attracts interest. I heard today, I also work in a private design firm, and I do a lot of work in Lebanon, Tennessee. And Lebanon came out on the news today. Tennessee's in the top 10 growth states in the nation, and the number one growing city is Lebanon, Tennessee. And they are extremely difficult to work with, and it's not their regulations, it's their employees. Say that here. It's their employees, and the fact that their guidelines aren't clear. You don't have to, like Farragut. I've done a lot of work in Farragut, and Farragut has a horrible process, but it's just lengthy and cumbersome. It doesn't improve necessarily the end product. There are lots of ways to get that end product and not be considered a pain to deal with. And as long as you're, there's another thing, and I've dealt with some, this is an issue. If you have a corporate entity, and like a Cracker Barrel or Exxon, whatever, if you are dealing with a corporate entity, they build everywhere. They build literally everywhere across the nation. They don't care what your criteria is. They just want to be clear. They want to come in, blow and go, and they want to get out. Their concern is operational cost. It's not one-time design and site improvement. That is a one-time shot for them. They don't care. So if your Dollar General stores, they pave a parking lot, they stripe it, they put a building there, there's no trees, there's no this, there's no that. They're not really looking at their ingress, egress points. And then you go to Farragut and you look at their Dollar General. It's all brick, it's well landscaped, it's got planting beds, it's this, it's that. It's a one-time shot, it's not operational. So don't be scared of running corporate entities off, you won't. If they decided to locate in your town, they spent a year determining your market share,
Yeah.
not the cost of that building, because it's incremental. You know, pavement is pavement, building's a building, landscaping is nominal. You know, even the facade of the building is nominal. The difference between block and brick, it's not that much. Now, you got to be careful because there's still a lot of local folks who are going to be building things.
Yeah.
So, and you do not want that to be a deterrent to them. So it's a fine balance.
Yeah. And I think we see that there's times, well, when there's, those people are trying to stay here because they've been invested and grown up here, and then yet, you know, sometimes you can just regulate them out, and that's
Right.
you never
And that's not what
you don't want that to happen. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's our task, I think, and so, you know, it's one of these things is that as we've had more and more people move into this area, okay, so which means that then basically is that we've had more and more homes constructed, and looks like it's continuing going to be that way per se. But it seems like anymore that the homeowner that moves here wants to be protected extremely well. Okay, I understand because there's an investment there, but then again, you know, and I'm not saying this is the issue, but the thing is that when you look at our budget in our county, is that we're getting tilted because we're not getting enough commercial and we're not getting enough industry to help offset some of our tax base, which needs to help for some of the people that it's to the point to where a young person that grows up here can't afford to live here anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's where we're going to be. I mean, if it is, it is. I mean, because sometimes markets, you know, the market itself is going to drive, and sometimes you're just going along for the ride. But you got somewhere in there, you've got to say, hey, we got to have, we're going to have to drive. So
the other thing is once again when you're looking at revenue, and I'm serious. This is my pet peeve, or not a pet peeve, but my high interest, is that the thing that operates in the red as far as servicing a land use, you just approved it tonight.
Yeah.
Low density residential, linear feet of road, linear feet of water lines, sewer lines, costs a fortune to maintain that infrastructure. And those houses, you won't see taxes until you won't really see taxes till there's a house on it. And then you're looking at 2 years for it to be collected, go through the state of Tennessee, and come back to you. And in the meantime, you're making zero and you're putting out big bucks.
Yeah.
You really need to find a cooperative element with your utility districts. High density residential is a good thing, but you gotta have sewer, you gotta have water.
Yeah. See, that's the problem in our county, is that we have, in my opinion, we have too many utility districts. And water is the driving force. You have very little sewer. And so commercial and industry are driven, I mean, they have to have that.
By sewer.
They've got to have that. I mean, I made the comment to the county commission. I said, you don't want to hear this, but you need to be in the sewer business. Just due to the fact that I said, because unless the towns are going to provide it, you're going to need it. And so, but, you know, the other thing is right now there's going through is that the growth boundary, there's going to be looking for a growth boundary expansion, and basically it's down I-40 to go down to catch up what's going to happen down at the new exit off Sevierville, so that Jefferson County gets some feedback from it. In order to do that, we need to extend sewer down to that area right there. Well, that was outside the growth boundary for the town of Danridge, but the town of Danridge says if we can get in our growth boundary, we'll be glad to handle the sewer and everything as far as that goes. But you know, we're not going to do it just for free.
Speculative.
Yeah. So that is one thing that's sort of coming to fruition there, to try to take advantage of two exits that we have here on I-40 that they're not being utilized to their max. And we have people there sitting there saying, you give me sewer, I'll do something. So, you know, so I know that's one thing that's coming down into play. But there's other corridors in this county that probably needed sewer that don't have it available. And the only person that I think that could do it is the county. Whether or not they can put the infrastructure out there, but you know, the thing is I looked at a new piece of state legislation that came through now, and I think it's the new corridors that they're talking about, to where you can put the infrastructure in, and then basically there would be a fee when somebody gets ready to add on and everything else, and then you would recoup your money back. I felt like the county had two corridors there that were available to them. If they were to do that it would be beneficial to the county. I don't know that they will, but there again, if we were to come to them and say, hey, this corridor here, it's got potential, we want to rezone that to this because we think that eventually this could happen, and if the infrastructure gets there. So I don't know, see how
Well,
that goes.
and there are lots of opportunities financial. You can do tax increment financing.
Yes.
And that pays you back.
Yes.
You can get ARC grants.
Yes.
The city of Newport, and actually the Newport Utility District just has an ARC grant to extend sewer to Cosby.
Yes.
And that's being paid for with that grant and that utility district. And, you know, infrastructure is always something that somebody else pays for and you take it and maintain it. But there are times where you gotta step out. If you wanna drive, you gotta do that yourself.
Yeah.
And there are, you know, there are lots of ways to do it. And there are, you know, once again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You might want to, when I was with Oak Ridge, we would do peer exchanges. And we would go to a similar community and take you know, like their staff and meet with their staff, and they would explain how they'd done something. And we would all get kind of skilled in that at the same time. And we did it for housing, we did it for a number of different things. But, you know, those tools, I mean, people in the state are, you know, there's lots of great examples out there. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's a fun thing to do. You know, it gives you ideas. I think you're in a wonderful position for economic development, but you do have to have, you have to be willing to kind of step out there and be the type A personality, and want to. You know, I've done a couple of TIFs, and we did one where we built a roadway and signalized it, and we had estimated 15 years for payback, and we rezoned it, and it was so successful that we paid off the debt service in 6 years, and that was crazy. And keep in mind that the sales tax you get is
Yes.
just the retirement of the bonds for.
Yeah. Yeah. We have some that we've got some of those in different portions of the counties, maybe probably more in the towns, I guess, than in the counties, as far as that goes. So, well, I don't know that we've ever done that in the county per se.
You know,
and there, I mean,
these East Tennessee counties are kind of just, they're rural by nature, and so it's never been like a real proactive stance on behalf of the county leaders. But you look at Williamson or Rutherford or you know, places that have really stepped out, and those counties are stronger than the cities are. And they're, you know, and it typically is counties lots of times, especially for certain uses, like especially industrial. Cities don't really do industrial development.
No.
Counties do industrial development. Counties provide jobs. Cities are more residential in nature. So it's, you know, that's a role that you can play.
okay.
And I can help.
Okay.
Kind of done this.
Anybody have anything else for tonight? Any questions? Welcome, and thank you again for your input. Looking forward to working with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second. All those in favor, let it be known by standing.